I want to try a small exercise. When I give the signal, breathe in for a count of 3, and breathe out for a count of 3. And go. It wasn't for you, that was for me. I'm going to lead you today on a journey. My goal is simple. I want you to appreciate the beauty of sharing. I want you to understand the African context of sharing. Let's start with the first thought, the first memory you have of being taught to share. Now, if you were like me, maybe your memory was sitting around the dinner table and your mom scolding you for not sharing with your brother. We lose this. Growing older, what memories do we have after childhood of sharing? What do we share with those around us? Do we see sharing being encouraged? I'm always amazed when I speak to people in a business environment and I see this scarcity mindset. We seem to guard over our knowledge like an angry dragon would guard its treasure. What we're scared of, I don't know. I think if we had to voice what we're afraid of in sharing our knowledge with other people, it would sound silly. And it is. The point I'll bring home a few times during my time with you is sharing isn't just good for the person receiving, but it's good for the person sharing. We'll refer back to that a bit later. Now, no talk about the beauty of sharing is complete without acknowledging where it is we've come from. Sharing is not a new concept. Let's talk about the pain. 2,000 years ago, a little over 2,000 years ago, villagers would have to carry their water from the nearest source, which back then was actually a well or a river, back to their villages many, many kilometers. What the Roman architects did at the time was they perfected the construction of the aqueduct. Now, the aqueduct is a massive stone structure that transports water many kilometers from the water source to the bustling village. In doing so, they raised the standard of living for everyone. What would have happened? What would have happened if the Roman architects were worried about their knowledge being stolen, being copied by their neighbors, and chose not to build that aqueduct? Now, if we're talking about sharing and the fear of sharing, well, how about death? This was the reality of the Renaissance. The people of the time, the pioneering minds, faced death to share their ideas with the public. They faced death to share. If there ever was a reason not to share, that's very high up there. We owe where we are today because the people of the time faced that fear of sharing, faced that risk of losing their lives. Now, an example closer to home, and we touched on it earlier, was the Khoisan. The Khoisan, after important events like hunting and tribal gatherings, decorated their cave walls with pictures of animals and other aspects of everyday life. The point here is, were they being compensated for anything that they were sharing? Was there a direct transaction? Or was there maybe something that we don't understand? These 3 examples serve one purpose: to show you that we are here today because of the people that came before us. Civilizations that shared are civilizations that grew. Well, how do we apply that beautiful history of sharing today, here and now? we can all agree that we are more connected than ever before. The technology in smartphones, coupled with the power of the internet, mean that the gaps between us and our neighbors has been reduced to just a few clicks. The irony is that while I've never had more friends, I've never felt so isolated. Let's talk about how it is we connect with those people around us. As many of you are busy with, social media has to be on the top of our list. We're all intimately aware of the bad side of social media. I browse Facebook for way too long. I have friend envy. I haven't quite got to the 5,000 lists. I think that's the maximum of Facebook. But my father has more friends than I do. We don't often speak about the good side of social media. Now, the good side could affect you in your immediate location, such as a local community group sharing safety-related tips. For me, it's my I Love Parkhurst group. It might affect you on a provincial level or on a national level. We touched on it earlier. The recent student protests with the unique hashtag of fees must fall brought the pain of university students and the unfair tuition fees onto our phones, which followed us into our workplaces and home. Why sharing is more applicable today than ever before. And this is an African reason. This is applicable for Africa. It's democratic. Information we share online, by and large, is freely accessible. The rich and the poor have access to most of the same online resources. Painful problems. We heard, for example, in our spoken poems earlier, painful problems such as poverty, where you might live, and the color of your skin are overcome. Sharing information online also addresses the weaknesses in our current education system. Lessons online are focused as opposed to dragging knowledge out dusty old textbooks. Problems of distance, where we all know of students who walk many kilometers to get to school. Your home is transformed into your school, into your classroom. The cost of a school uniform, the cost of transportation is transformed into the cost of airtime. How do we share this information with other people? As you heard, I'm a blogger. Now, blogging, for those of you who might not know, is a sharing of your information, of your ideas online at a regular basis. It might be every day, it might be every week or every month. We can also write ebooks and release ebooks. Now, ebooks are digital files, which means they are easier to share. Because of the format, they're also easier to monetize, leveraging internet stores such as Amazon. What can we do here today? Well, the reason I think that the African internet renaissance hasn't given birth to a sharing culture as yet, there's three missing catalysts. Three missing catalysts that will encourage sharing. Firstly, as Africans, we need to strive for acceptance as online and equal citizens. Too often, working online and entering your country of location as an African country reduces the list of options to next to nothing. A painful example of this is where authors who choose to share their knowledge as ebook on Amazon, they cannot receive their funds directly. Instead, we have to wait for a posted check to arrive through the post office. Most of you here would appreciate that waiting for a posted check through the post office is not going to happen. I'm still waiting for my first check. To drive that same point home further, the readers of these ebooks on Amazon are penalized with a $2 surcharge. So the book cost $2 more, for no reason other than where we live. Second catalyst, the visibility of our role models. We need to find more Africans who make a living sharing what it is they know online. We need to find them and celebrate them like rock stars, where we can place them on a pedestal. As an example to a disenfranchised population, we can say, look, you can do it. These people are. Maybe you're thinking you aren't smart enough. It does sound complicated to share online and make a living from it. But if you think you aren't smart enough, search YouTube for Suzelle DIY for a great example of someone who can entertain and educate in the same video. Why would Suzelle freely share what she knows on YouTube? YouTube helps the content creator, the person who makes the video, YouTube helps them monetize the views. Now, the third missing catalyst, and really what gives the push to the whole concept of sharing, is profits. Well, why would I want to share? Some people might need a bit of a push. I was one of them. Let me use a personal example to highlight the potential for profits. 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago, I decided to start a blog. Now, the reason I started blogging was a business one. I needed to reach as many people as possible for the lowest cost possible. I guess by definition, that's a startup. Now, fast forward 2 years, and through the sharing of my information online, I've been lucky enough to help thousands of writers understand the complex topic of self-publishing online. The important point to take home here, and the reason I'm here, is to tell you that I make a living doing this. By monetizing the views, the people actually coming to my site, and not monetizing the content, I don't restrict the access. I don't hurt people who might not be able to afford to learn. Through sharing my information freely, I earn a living while helping people realize some sort of success in their lives. So let's look at a call to action. Our call to action would, for those of you here who are working with online media and social networks, call to action is one of the most important things. And what I want you to take away from our time together is the small things you can do to foster a sharing revolution. The first thing is to be a role model. Whether you're an author, a blogger, or just love using social media, be aware of the responsibility that you have. Lay your brain bare for those who hunger for the knowledge of your niche. Number 2, actively educate. Every person here knows something. You're an expert at something. We saw some great experts up earlier. Don't underestimate what it is you know. You never know when the seeds of your knowledge will find that fertile ground. Thirdly, and this is quite close to home, is to celebrate. A personal example of this is one of the most exciting things for me is going home and seeing comments on my blog, seeing the feedback, good or bad. And to be fair, when you start off, there's more good than bad, or more bad than good. Sorry. Especially when you blog to an international audience, you do go through hard patches of your information that's being shared being misunderstood. Maybe your spelling was wrong. Celebrate these people sharing wherever you might find them. A comment, a retweet, which I see you guys are busy with. It means so much to us. To close off, don't limit the impact of your knowledge by placing profits first. Sharing is not just something that feels good. It's something that you can make a profit and a living from. The vehicles are here for Africans now. Find the role models, celebrate with them. Thank you.